Greetings and welcome everybody. This is Dick Poirier, past International Director for Toastmasters, and today we're going to talk about some of the things that we need to do to get ready for the changes that are coming in Basecamp of Pathways in October of 2024. This is your typical screen when you log into Pathways in Basecamp. And we're going to be referencing back to this screen several times during this presentation. But for you to understand that come October 9th through the 25th, our Basecamp system will be temporarily out of service in order that upgrades and testing may be done on our system. But before we get into those changes and those things that we need to do to be ready for those changes, let's talk about the reasons behind the changes that are coming. First of all, we are told it'll be easier to navigate for those of us who've had a little bit of problems with that in the past. That should be a lot easier going forward. There will be no longer a requirement to approve a level in Basecamp and then secondarily to submit it to Club Central. Once it is submitted in Basecamp, it'll automatically go into Club Central, so it'll be a one-step process going forward. The new system will also have accessibility using mobile devices, and it'll also have visually impaired friendly systems in order that those who are visually impaired will be able to operate in it a lot easier than they can today. Also, social media posting will be easy to achieve through the upgraded system. And then finally, there'll be, instead of the current 11 paths that are available, there'll only be 6 going forward that'll be available in the new system in terms of the easier navigation. You'll still, if you're working in the 5 paths that are no longer going to be serviced, you'll still be able to do those or use those paths in the new system, but you just won't have that easier navigation and look and feel that the new paths or the current paths that are going to remain will have. So these are the 6 paths that will be remaining once the new upgrades are in place. There'll also be some other features called explorations that'll come in after the launch. That'll be sometime later. But our focus right now is to talk about what we need to do to be ready for the upgrades and the changes that will be in the system. So what actions do we need to take before the October 9th shutdown? The Basecamp Manager, or the BCM, who is the President or the Vice President of Education or the Secretary, should be approving any pending achievements that any of our members have made prior to the shutdown. This will ensure that the member receives that credit and not have to wait several weeks in order to see it. Likewise, since it is prior to the shutdown, the Basecamp Manager will also need to submit that in Club Central because it'll still be a 2-step process prior to the shutdown. That way the club also will receive the credit and not have to wait several weeks to see it. Next, for anybody who will be working on a project during October, we recommend that they download the project PDF and evaluation form or forms if you are working on potentially more than one project during that time frame. That way you can keep on working even though Basecamp is shut down. How do we go about doing that? Whenever we enter a project in Pathways Basecamp, we'll get a screen that looks like this. This is the main screen, and it looks very similar for all projects. This happens to be Deliver Social Speeches. But at the bottom of the screen, you'll see there is a menu which allows you to select from a menu, and one of the selections is this Your Evaluation. And when we click on it, we get a screen that looks like this. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see 2 items, Evaluation Resource and Print My Project. And this gives the individual an ability to download as a PDF both the evaluation resource and the project itself. Now, you can print those out. The project itself is generally maybe 20 or sometimes even 30 pages long. I would recommend saving it as a PDF, and then they can work from that. But when they do click on those items, the user will then be able to see their project in its entirety as well as the evaluation form. The evaluation form is a fillable PDF in this case. However, embedded in the project description is also an evaluation form. However, it's not fillable. The next item we recommend is that the VP-Eds download all the level 1 projects for the newer members. That would be anybody who's brand new in Toastmasters, or maybe somebody who's just started working in level 1 projects and still wants to be able to continue working on them during the shutdown. And to be able to do that, we recommend that the VP-Ed use this link that's shown at the bottom of this screen and be able to download them. And when they do click on that, you can see these are the 4 projects: the Icebreaker, Writing a Speech with Purpose, Introduction to Vocal Variety and Body Language, and Evaluation and Feedback. Those, along with the projects, along with the evaluations, can be downloaded by clicking on that link. And when they click on that link, they will come to a screen that will say New Club Resources. This is really what any of our new clubs that are formed use in order to continue allowing their not yet full members work in the Pathways projects. So when that screen comes up and they click on this level 1 projects, you can see down at the bottom the 4 projects, just clicking on each of them and downloading them. And like I said earlier, when you get that project downloaded, embedded in that is the evaluation form for each of those projects. So that'll keep people who are newer Toastmasters being able to continue working in the Pathways projects and not get discouraged, if you will. We want them to really want to continue working in the projects. Also, members might also want to download any level completion certificates that they may have. For example, if I've completed a level 3 in Engaging Humor, I might want to have that certificate if I haven't already printed it out or if I have not already received it from my VP-Ed. In case that does happen and somebody does want to print out their certificates, they can easily do that when they go into their project in Basecamp. Again, this has got to be done before the shutdown occurs on October 9th, but they can go in there and you can see this, in this case, Engaging Humor is completed and there's a view certificate. They can click on that, and when they do, they can see the certificate of completion and either print it out or download it or whatever they want to do with it at that point. Next, if anybody has any feedback they've received or badges they've received from other people, they can also take screenshots and download those. In particular, if they are in this screen, which is your opening screen in Pathways in Basecamp, and you can see over on the right-hand side the My Feedback and My Badges. When you click on each one of those, you'll get a screen that looks like this. This is actually a screenshot of my feedback that I've received from people. And if I want to save all of this feedback, I can take screenshots, or I can actually copy and paste, however I want to do it, be able to save those feedback items. And in addition, I would be able to, if I want to, save the badges that I've received over the course of time. I personally am not terribly keen on the badges, but maybe there's people that do want to save them. And if so, this is the opportunity, because once we go into the new version of Pathways Basecamp, these will no longer be available, the ones that have already been completed. In addition, you may have saved some documents within Basecamp. I know for me, I have done that, and I've saved documents that are, for me, important in the sense that if I want to get to them, I just go into the main screen in Basecamp, click on the My Documents in the lower right-hand corner, and when I do, I get the documents that I have saved in my file, and anybody else who has saved anything in their file in their portfolio, they can download those documents. I've kind of put them in. I've created a bunch of level 1 through 5 folders, and within there I have saved all of my evaluations that I've received from people. So if I want to save all those, I need to go in and open them up and download them and save them somewhere. Otherwise, again, once the new Basecamp rolls out, we will not have access to those projects that we've already completed in terms of the documents that are in there. There's some additional items. Really, I don't call them terribly critical in terms of performance or in terms of being able to continue working in Toastmasters Basecamp, but there may be some people that really want to keep those. For example, the skills assessment information. Whenever you work on a project, I'm sure for those of you who've done any work in Basecamp, you know that you get the opportunity to assess yourself before and after. And when you go into your project, if you want to save these, you don't have to, but if you want to save any of these assessments that you've made, you'd have to go into each one of them, each project, and save the feedback by taking a screenshot of those. Similarly, if we have questionnaires that we've worked on, either in the understanding communication or leadership styles projects, we'd have to go into each of those and take a screenshot and save them. Story collection in Engaging Humor Path. There's a specific project within the Engaging Humor Path that has a story collection item. It's actually the power of humor in your impromptu speech. And when you go into the introduction section of that, you'll see a story collection tool. If you've used it and you've saved any stories that you might like to use in the future, then you'll need to download those as well, because those will not be available again going forward when the new program comes out. At least anything that you've already stored in the system will be gone. Some people have saved meeting roles. I think most of us probably work in maybe Easy Speak or FreeToast Host, or maybe your VP Ed has a Excel spreadsheet they use. So generally speaking, I don't know too many people that save anything in terms of meeting roles in the Basecamp. But if they do, they can be found in your Basecamp profile, and you click on the My Account that's up here. You can see in blue on the upper right hand corner. Well, okay, we've talked about things that we need to do before the shutdown. And after the shutdown, you should be looking to submit for approval any projects that you have completed during the shutdown. So in other words, if you worked offline and you've had a couple of projects, maybe you completed a level or two during that time frame of the shutdown, you want to be submitting them into the system, the new system, and ensure that the Basecamp manager approves those achievements. Now the good news is there won't have to be a separate entry in Club Central once the new system comes up, but it's a one-step process now instead of a two-step process like it currently is. And finally, hopefully we'll all get the chance to enjoy the new and improved Pathways Basecamp system. So here we are. Let's get ready, because those changes are coming. I mentioned October 9th is when we'll go offline. We won't be back up until at least October 25th. But recognize that once the shutdown happens, we will no longer have access to all of these items that are shown with that yellow banner here. The download certificates, the screenshots of feedback, downloading my documents, and any of the skills assessment questionnaires, story collection, and meeting roles. None of those that are currently in the system will be available once the system comes back up online. So if you want to save any of those items, be sure you go in using some of the information that we've provided here in this video. Go into there and do the downloads, save the screenshots, whatever it is that you need to do. If any of you have any questions, if I can help you answer them, hopefully before the shutdown happens, feel free to give me a call. That's my mobile number, so you can also text me, 630-915-9799. Also, my email address is shown there. Feel free to get a hold of me. I'm happy to help anybody who has any questions regarding this. Thank you for listening, and good luck, and I hope that once the new system comes up, that we'll all be thrilled with it, and that we'll be able to work harder and faster within our Toastmasters Pathways program. Thank you all for listening. Have a good one.